Hi, Mooroo. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, surviving. How about you? How's this time been for you?
Yeah, not very much different. I can't do my travelogues anymore, but I can pretty much do everything else that I was already doing. So it's not that bad.
Are you
It's
a
not that bad.
are you a homebody? Like, do you not like mingling with people and going out that much?
I used to many years ago, but ever since I got married to YouTube, I I kind of had to give it up.
Give it up. So you have willingly.
Yeah.
Okay.
विलिंगली लाइक मैं जब लाहौर आता हूँ तो मेरी वापस सोशल लाइफ हैवी हो जाती है लेकिन कराची के अंदर जब मैं जहाँ रहता हूँ और पिछले 7-8 साल से रह रहा हूँ ऑलमोस्ट डेकेड नाउ वहाँ पे इट्स लाइक I've only made friends that I kind of work with, so they're all work buddies, and I rarely meet anyone. And my YouTube career is a very solo, एक इंसान काम करने वाला career. I only have 2 other employees, so it's like a nothing has really changed, but I don't meet a lot of people anyways. So yeah.
So when you moved actually like 7, 8 years ago, like you said, I even watched some video of yours in which you were trying to convince your mom or someone ke oh maine jana hai and I have to leave and I have to follow my.
Yeah.
So do you really think that Karachi is the place for like even a creator like you, let alone people who work in like drama serials and stuff?
I mean, people who work in a drama serial, like the things that require the media industry to be around you, uh, and you come from a family where most of the people have a second home in Karachi, right? So uh, they're actors and actresses, so they need to have one over here. But I don't. The reason why it helps me is because I had a group of friends in Lahore that weren't from the creative fields,
Yeah.
and they were free all the time, and I could just go over anytime and do useless things, like
Mhm.
probably watch a football match and scream at the television screen. And I could do that all the time because one of my friends was always free.
There's
So for
one friend who's always free.
Yeah. And you and his house is the sort of place that you can always go to, वो भी सीन होता है. तो वो उधर का ये सीन इस तरह का था कि फिर मैं कभी भी काम नहीं करता था, मैं हर वक्त दोस्तों के साथ ही वक्त जाया कर रहा होता था. तो मेरी once I graduated from school, I went to Orlando, Florida. When I came back, I realized that I was falling into the same bad habits. I developed these good habits in America where I'd seen other people work hard. So I was like, oh, acha, this is how hard you have to work to actually be able to make it in Hollywood. And and even they were like working 10 times harder than me but doing work that I would want to do better than. So I was like, okay, so I got to work 10 times harder than them working 10 times harder than me, so that's 20 times harder than I'm where I'm at. The horrible math. So yeah, so I just, when I came back, I saw myself falling into the same old bad routines. I was like, Karachi is a good place. It'll be a reset button. It'll be reestablish your friendships over here. And when you establish new friendships, make sure they're the sort that, kind of help you, uh, are you're mutually beneficial, let's say. I don't want to have like abusively useful sort of friendships with logon ko abuse kar rahe ho, just using them as a way to get forward. Not like that, but like, so I have only filmmaker friends and musician friends over here.
And I feel like that really helps because as an artist or a creator, you're always ticking, you're always thinking about something. Even when you're chilling, you can't separate yourself from your craft. So it's like you're not working, but you're constantly thinking, कि अब ये किसका होगा, अब ये मैंने करना है, अब वो. So it's nice to surround yourself with people who help you in that process because otherwise you can't completely separate. Acha, these are the people who I work with creatively, and these are my friends. It's nice to have an overlap so that you can
Yeah.
do stuff with people you are also friends with or acquainted with. Which brings me
Yeah.
to another thing. Like, do you feel like, I mean, यहाँ और वलैत के अंदर तो एक बहुत बड़ा different
Did I just cough?
Oh,
बुलाया तो यहाँ पे you were saying sorry, didn't mean to
let's
interrupt.
ignore it. Let's ignore it. There's a big difference in terms of work ethic, I feel. But
हाँ.
I mean, if you just look at Karachi and Lahore, have you noticed for sure that there is a big difference in terms of work ethic and how people, take initiative and are responsible for themselves? ये नहीं कि ओ film बनानी है तो बताओ idea बताओ. Like I usually get this कि I want to work on something because I want to act in something, so I have greater incentive to make something. And then the other person is like, nahin, just come up with the whole idea, come up with everything, and then we'll do it. And I'm like, that's only so useful because I want the other person to also play a part in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I did come here initially, first few years over here, I saw that most of the YouTubers tend to be self-made people because it's not wasn't an established industry or anything, and your parents wouldn't encourage you to do so.
Yeah.
So they had to take their own initiative towards it. So most of the YouTubers, and still this is the case, are from Karachi. It's because and this is just my hypothesis. It's not a fact or anything, but my hypothesis is that it's a far more meritocratic city. It's got a bit bigger middle class. It's got less of a provincial mentality. You're not living in Punjab where people own land and
Yeah.
you're like chilling, sipping tea, going like, I've got land. So you you actually have to do shit here, and most people are doing shit. There's a buzz that I'm surrounded by. Like every time I meet like my friend Faiza Salim, she was always doing something. Um, I met Danish Ali. He was always doing something.
She's worked so hard, and it's great to see like someone like her, especially because like she's a woman, so you can relate to the struggles and stuff grow so fast. So that's
Yeah.
sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. And Meera Sethi, similar thing. Like she also has a second home here in Karachi now, because she wants to act, and it makes sense because the industry is here. And so even if you're not getting into the industry, because I gave a lot of auditions for TV dramas and I sucked. एक तो मेरी उर्दू पढ़नी बड़ी स्लो है, मुझे याद उनने मुझे स्क्रिप्ट पकड़ा दी फुल, वो जो कंप्रेस्ड उर्दू में नहीं होती,
Just जुड़ा
ऊपर एक दूसरे के ऊपर चढ़ी हुई होती हैं चीजें, and I'm like ये क्या लिखा हुआ है, and they just looked at me, they went like, every place I went to they were like, this kid's not gonna make it. It turns out that most of the top actors can't read Urdu script. They have someone who translates it into Roman English, and then they read it, and then they'll have someone who's standing next to the camera who reads the line, and it's like, "Aapka kya haal hai?" And then this guy will go like, "Aapka kya haal hai?" Like he'll actually do the expression, but the other guy just reads it.
understood.
So I don't know. So since I was trying to get some roles in dramas and stuff, my hustle game went up, and I saw everybody else go. Like even though I didn't get any roles, but I ended up acting better in my own skits. So I don't know. I feel like the culture that you exist in can either encourage or discourage tendencies. And even if you're small, like egg, like I'm assuming you live in the Ryvend compound. Uh,
I
the, and that's a very encouraging egg. And Anam Peerzada, your cousin, has been the most encouraging person in my life. And then that's a good surrounding and good culture to be in. But outside of that, there's also Lahore. And as much as the encouragement could be from within the home, the discouragement from outside can affect it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm getting out.
It's like bubbles within bubbles. So,
Yeah.
like you said, starting out in YouTube, initially when you took the leap, like what was the process when you arrived at the decision? Did it just happen organically? Or were you just like, okay, like I should just do this? Because you have been pretty much one of the first people who has had like a crazy, prolific YouTube career in Pakistan. Like you're, one of the pioneers.
I would say I'm the first few. I mean, I guess the first few would be the Canadians, like Zaid and Sham and Shavir. These guys kind of set and I saw that. I saw that they had done something with the platform. And as much as like I don't watch that type of content, I consume different type of content. I did see the usage of the platform through them. So I learned that from them, and then I applied it to the type of things that I want to do, and it's probably more niche, the type of content that I make, you know. uh, but yeah, so I saw that, and how did it come to me? Other people had paved the way. America mein already there were a lot of people doing it. फिर these Canadian YouTubers are doing it, and then I was also very dissatisfied with the work that I was doing in the commercial industry. It was very like derivative work, so I was like, where's my own voice? I always like used to brag about this as a child, you know, tell older people off, "Okay, oh, what did you do in your life? You guys sold out, you know, you never made any art that was worth anything. I'm going to do this." And then I found that it was harder than I thought,
Yeah.
when, you know, but then I was like, either I put my money where my mouth is, or just fall into that pit hole that everybody falls in, which where you accept that you're mediocre. You know, you accept it, you go like, this is what it is. I will never be able to make a movie as good as they are in Hollywood or something, you know. So I thought, first I need my own voice, and then the pinnacle of that, the expression of that voice could be a film, but perhaps I need to climb these stairs and put my money where my mouth is. So yeah, it was a combination of guilt and watching other people having done it on the platform, and all those things put together motivated me to do it.
And I definitely feel like when you're younger, you think that, oh, when I finally start pursuing my dreams, ho jayega, and I know it'll be tough, but like, I'll do it. And then when you finally are in the playing field, you're like, okay, this is kind of hard.
Yeah,
And
but you've done like this thing with Baji, and your Baji is like the most popular character,
yeah.
but you put yourself out there as well as your characters, and you've delineated them on Instagram, so that people who really just like don't like you but like Baji, and this happens to me all the time.
Are many people who don't like me, it's like me against myself. Like my already existing existential crisis gets so much more amplified when it's me versus myself in the public sphere as well. It's just too funny.
This
But
happens to Mr. Bean and Rowan Atkinson and anybody who's able to create a character that's so far away from themselves
so far.
that people don't want to see the other person. They want to see the character.
And
So
it is scary because you're just like, okay, my career has literally just begun, and then there's
yeah,
big figure that I've created, like she's my monster, you know.
yeah.
So
But the good thing about that monster is that if you, I mean, monster is like, she's great. I don't want to call her a monster. You call her a monster. Uh, but the good thing is that if you want to erase the monster, you'll have to create a bigger monster, and you're challenging yourself by doing that.
yeah, definitely. It is a challenge for sure because people also, I feel like maybe, I mean, it's my interpretation that Pakistan mein people always want to categorize things and they want to label things. ये है, ये है, ये करती है, ये funny है, ये इस तरह है, just to be able to digest it. Because if someone is doing too many different things, people are a bit like, yeah, what's the focus? What's the plan? Kya ho raha hai? Even if individually those things are good, which brings
Yeah.
to this question. So I watched a lot of like short kind of sketches that you've done, especially with Meera Sethi. There was one in which you both are a couple and you pick her up from her house, and there's just this car ride and this conversation between you guys. And I thought it was so well done because it was really short, relatable, and the dialogue was so organic. So stuff like that, like you said, is perhaps more niche, right? And
Hmm.
that's probably stuff you want to put out there as well. So in your career, how much do you think you have to compromise, like giving the people what they want, also giving brands what they want, but then also giving yourself what you want? Like, how do you strike a balance?
I mean, it's an organic thing. Like the COVID has kind of put another strange limit on me where I can't work with other actors.
Hmm.
You know, calling Faiza up right now. or meet up right now is like I'm writing something, it would be dangerous. It would be irresponsible to work with somebody else if you can't. Well, I don't think anybody can offer like a safe place to work in, because you don't know. You could be asymptomatic, and there's so many things, right? So, so that's put a little thing on a limit on it. Money is another thing. Like a brand will come to me and be like, I'll be like, I want to do a short film.
What?
I'll be like, I want to do a short film, and but they'll be like, no, we want you to do a travelogue, or we want you to do a comedy sketch with Faiza, and they're paying for it. So I have to respect their,
Mm,
you know, wants and desires from me as well. So I'm constantly pushing, pulling with brands, with my own self as well, where I get conditioned by the number of likes and views as well. So but like like most of the things that have been a big hit have been the result of an experimentation of,
mm,
if I stuck to just the main thing that I did earlier, it would be music.
yeah.
But the reason why other things were far more successful than my music is because I experimented. So I
Yeah.
just kind of go back to that thought ke bhai, the reason why these things have come about, these successful videos that you've done, is because you've experimented. So keep experimenting. And also mood ki bhi baat hoti hai. If you're not feeling funny, then forcing yourself to write something funny,
Yeah.
uh, I'd rather have an outlet to express the other thought,
Yeah.
might be a slightly melancholic thought and not so funny, so all those avenues, if they're developed and they have their own separate, I've tried to like separate like my YouTube channels as well. Now I put music on one channel, gaming on another channel, podcasts, which is like conversations like this, on another channel. So that people who come, they don't go like, oh, we got something we didn't want. You got to train your audience.
Yeah.
They're trained to watch comedy on a particular channel. That's why you've done the Baji thing.
Mm.
Now if you go and put yourself out on the Baji channel, they might be like, where's Baji?
Where's Baji? I did that once. I put this other character on the Baji page, and I said कि Baji का phone चोरी हो गया, and people were like, ये कौन है? इसे उतारो, उतारो. And I was like, okay, guys, it's just another character. Don't worry.
So
But
how do you do that? Like, what's your process around figuring out, like, there's a thing that you're popular for and the things that you people don't know you for, and you might not know whether you're good at it or not till you give it a shot.
so I think now I'm trying to be more proactive about it. Like first I was kind of just, waiting it out कि कोई auditions आए, कोई ये आए, कोई वो आए, फिर अगर हो गया तो देखेंगे. Now I'm like, okay, if you want to be in a short film, try to learn screenwriting and try to write a character that you would want to play, then approach someone or collaborate with someone who'd be willing to produce that, help them out, and then play that character. So abhi I'm like reading this book on screenwriting, and hopefully I'm going to
Which
develop.
one?
It's called Save the Cat. It's very
Oh
short.
yeah, I love Save the Cat.
Yeah. So
Because genres, there's 7 genres and everything is in within that genre. I
yeah.
actually use Save the Cat as a genre within it, known as um, Message in a Bottle, I think.
Okay.
um I use that for one of my videos, which is the second most popular video I've done. It's called Kebab Mein Haddi.
Okay.
um so yeah, it's quite beneficial. But like after a certain point, like I was watching a movie yesterday called Source Code,
Mm.
with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a high concept film. It's about time traveling and stuff. And right at the end of it, I was able to break it down into, oh, so it's a caper film. It's like 3 genres mixed together with it's a whodunit, it's a caper, and it's a time traveling film. So it's great the way it teaches you to break that down, and the way you could kind of scientifically write a screenplay.
Yeah, because I'm better at developing characters, not developing the whole script or writing for screen. I've never done that. Like I may have written short stories, but that's, just for a reader, it's not for a screen. So just trying to be more proactive, trying to collaborate with people, because up to I think it's gonna be a while till people are actually, making serials or films or things, even plays that I could be a part of. So abhi I'm trying to make the best of this time. But sometimes I just feel like over here, maybe it's just my experience. I feel like people don't collaborate as much as they should, or maybe I feel like jo bahar YouTubers or creators, they work together a lot, and I feel like that offers a bigger room for creating more things. So what would
For
you say?
sure. For sure. I mean, it's possibly got to do with the culture, and the industries kind of force you to collaborate with each other. Like, I mean, for example, YouTube over there has this year at the end video that they make called YouTube Rewind, where they get all of the creators together that are the top creators on the platform. You know, so वो एक मुलाकात होगी. फिर उसके अलावा like tech, if you're a tech YouTuber, you'll have so many little tech launches that you end up meeting each other at. It started happening here. I met like this tech YouTuber, ZTech Care, that I kind of knew of from online at one of these product launches of a phone. So that encouraged us to do a collaboration together. And I think these sort of things do help, but it's slowly going to happen. I mean, how do people end up collaborating on when they're working for Hum TV together? It's because the TV is forcing them to work and there's money tied in. So it'll happen. But when you're kind of coming up, you have to. I remember I messaged Faiza myself. I saw something she had done and I said, "You're amazing, but you need a better cameraman and a better editor." And guess what I got to offer her? I'm a cameraman, a better editor. So let's collaborate because I will bring this value and your acting will be served better. So I remember seeing that, and like this tendency within me was also encouraged at a film school abroad, where you don't have these sort of, you have to serve the work, the whether it's if you're functioning as a musician, you serve the song, you don't serve your ego. But what I find that when you're collaborating with people, a lot of times they're serving their ego, that, oh, I get to be the hero, oh, I get to be the more screen time guy, and I think that is put the problem, that if you look at the bigger picture, you're serving the film, whether you play a small role within it. And one of my videos that I wrote, directed, edited, and put my heart and soul into has the smallest scene in it, with me in it. And the main thing is Faiza and Mariam Salim's acting, which is Saas and Bahu. And it's got like what, over 30 million views, so um, 8 on Faiza's channel, 8 on my YouTube channel, 11 million on my Facebook. So, and I'm barely in it. So it just goes to show that when you put your ego aside, that it actually can make you grow faster.
Yeah, definitely.
So that I think seems to be a little bit of a problem. Every time particularly with musicians, when I collaborate, they're like, मेरा scene जब आए ना तो मैं ज़्यादा बेहतर लगूं. But making the other guy look good is a bigger duty, I feel.
Yeah, supposed to be the priority. But
Yeah.
for someone like you who's, I mean, so far along their career in terms of being a creator, artist, YouTuber, what so I love like tips, like punch tips, punch tips. So if you had to give me like 5 tips or 5 things that you should aim for in your work, or just to reorient someone like me कि इस तरह सोचना चाहिए और काम को इस तरह करना चाहिए, कोई 5.
I don't know, if someone like you, I think you're on the right track and you'll figure out your own path. The way you're reading books about screenplay writing is you are pursuing whatever, you're taking action. That's all that really matters. So someone like you के अंदर मुझे issues नहीं है, but a lot of people that I meet who want to be a content creator, they generally have a few questions that just peeve me. It's like, oh, I've spent a month on putting up YouTube videos and my followers aren't increasing. How do I get subscribers? And then they'll tag me on Twitter. They'll be like, they're not increasing. I'm like, you're putting the horse before the cart. Concentrate on your work. Try to make that better. You're worried about the subscribers. How about the work? Ask me about your video, whether the edit is good, you know, or whether the story was good. Did you get the 3 act structure down in your vlog? But those questions are far and few because most people don't have their priorities lined up correctly. They're just putting the fame before the work itself. And I think that'll just, maybe if it, even if it does work, it'll work for a very short term basis. Maybe you'll get 1 or 2 hits out of it, and what'll happen is that you'll see like some video that's already viral, and you'll reinterpret it in some way or the other, and it won't be original, it won't be your own voice, and it might get half of the virality of the original video, but it'll get you popular. And so you'll be like, yes, this is what I need to do. It'll encourage you to be more derivative, and you'll do more derivative shit, and your followers will increase because all you really wanted was the followers. So that seems to be a big issue, where little kids come up to me, and I get it when it's a little kid, you're like, oh, he doesn't know life yet. But when they're older people, I'm just like, this guy learned nothing.
You're so unevolved.
Yeah. When was it the last time that you saw a film that really emotionally affected you? Um, and you went like, I wonder how much money it made. You don't care. It affected you. That's all that matters. I don't care how much money Dead Poet Society made, or Braveheart made, or how popular what is and what isn't. It affected me. That's all that matters. And so putting that value in front, that am I making something that affects people, that affects me? Is it the type of content that I want to see? That first, and then everything else should follow.
Yeah, definitely. I think it should be something that you yourself would want to watch. Because if it's not, then, kaun dekhega. But
Yeah.
another thing, it's kind of going off on a tangent, but when you started out, you probably thought that in terms of a skill set, you probably maybe you realize, but for instance, I didn't realize that editing aani hogi, ye cheez aani hogi, basic, movie banana, video banana, ye cheezein aani hogi. Even with marketing, insights padna, ye wo, like I didn't think I'd have to learn all of that. So what core skills do you think you've developed along your journey that you didn't know you'd have to at the outset?
Okay, well, and as far as the technicalities of filmmaking are concerned, I always was interested in them. The minute I figured out, oh, there's someone behind the camera, he's making things happen. Oh, the director, that's why it's Martin Scorsese. Whenever there's Martin Scorsese written on it, even though I don't know his face, that the film tends to be good for some reason with his name on it. So I was there when I figured that out. I was like, oh, there's someone making it happen. I was like, I want to be that guy for sure. Because all I've ever done is like search for Martin Scorsese films. And that's what I'm really after. So maybe I should, that's my interest. So I started breaking it down like at the, not a very young age, at like 17, 18, I figured this out. It took me a while. I didn't come from a family of directors or anything. So I kind of figured that out. And once I did, I started learning technicalities, and I had an editing computer at home. It's a very basic, slow computer. अब्बू का था, उसके ऊपर मैं editing करना शुरू कर दी. Even before I went to film school, this is around A levels time. So I was into that. But what I didn't think I would be learning, to answer your question, was the same thing, the marketing insights, or or actually, like, I always thought like writing a script would mean that somehow there's an emotion within me, and I need to express it, and I would need no control over that. I wouldn't have to move things around. It would just be something that flows out in this moment of inspiration, and it would just be powerful. And all I really need to do is to be inspired. It turns out that inspiration happens, for me at least, it comes and goes. And that moment of inspiration will come where you write down really broken English or Urdu mein, oh, this would be a great idea. And since it's coming so fast to you, you just write down in broken English whatever the hell it is. And then the rest of the time, which is most of it, is spent cuddling the sentence to make it look good, or writing the jumla in a way that it seems like a manula would say this, fixing the dialogue, rewriting it over and over and over and over again till it's right. That I never thought would be the process, which I discovered at film school. Okay, writing is rewriting.
Yeah.
It doesn't just bleh, like a vomit and it's beautiful. Like that never happens to me. And I know some people, and I'm jealous of them, who write a song. Some of the best songs by Sarah McLachlan. There's this song, Angel. She just wrote it. She says, it just came to me one night. And I was like, just shut up. That's crazy. I hate that. I'm like, काश मेरे साथ ये हर वक्त होता, लेकिन कभी एक दफा शायद हुआ जिंदगी में टाइप.
But it's all about novelty. I think that makes it more special. You value the moment of inspiration more when it comes infrequently. I mean, it makes it hard,
Yeah.
but it does increase the value. So, are there any? How have you adapted to this COVID situation in terms of your projects? Like, I don't know, are you coming up with something that is COVID inspired, or maybe like a web series or something?
Excuse me. I'm getting more time to write. I'm getting more time to think and to study. And I've always had like interest in academic subject matter, but I wasn't ever at home enough to be able to read or complete a book. I would be like listening to audiobooks as I'm doing something else. But with COVID, like, sorry?
I've never listened to an audiobook ever.
Yeah, when someone who reads, it's like blasphemy for them, right?
It's like,
It's like,
kyun?
kya matlab? But there's like, for example, there's Salman Rushdie wrote a book. I forget the name. It's a book of his short stories.
Okay.
And then he read the audiobook in his own voice.
Okay. That's still
There's something special about it.
allowed.
Yeah. But I mean, a good audiobook reader, your eyes are free. So I could be doing something like I'm editing and rotoscoping only requires my eyes. My ears are free.
What's
I'll put on. Rotoscoping is like if I was to select you out of this video and remove the background.
Okay.
But you're moving around, right? So the mask that I draw around you has to move per frame.
Okay.
So every frame that your head moves like this, I have to redraw the mask a little bit, redraw it a little bit, redraw it a little bit.
Okay.
So every now and then I'll have to do something like this in one of my videos. And that'll take hours, like 2-3 घंटे बैठे हुए 5 second की video edit हो रही है ना. So within that time frame, I'll just listen to an audiobook. It's like I'm actually gaining from the situation. The video is getting edited. I'm also learning something. I'm getting, I don't know. So for me, audiobooks and podcasts are a big thing, a big way of absorbing information. I also was a very slow reader all my life. So with the COVID thing, I'm getting time to read about things. So I made this video about the future and what I think technologically, what's happening, and projecting that into the future, what could possibly be happening. So I read like 3 books for it. And I don't
like the whiteboard thing on the side.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Yeah. So that's the new COVID thing. Because I can't move. So just a whiteboard and me is all I've got.
It's a new form that you found, which is really and it's very informative, like Hassan Minaj level informative. With the machine gun of information lake was fired.
Yeah.
Like whoa. But speaking of, I don't know, the world situation right now, I feel like social media has become a very overwhelming place. Like, I know it's very important to share current events, opinions, all of that on social media, but I also, with social media justice, I don't really understand how much of it can make a difference. There's one aspect of it, of course, if a crime happens, people record it, and obviously the video can circulate and more people can gain access to it and, gain knowledge of it. But on the other side, I just don't understand how much it benefits everyone to share facts and opinions on a social platform. It is informative, but I also feel like in this when the world is already such a difficult place to be in, it makes it a very constraining and repressive kind of space. So I don't know, like,
I'm trying to understand how you find it to be repressive.
I mean, I feel like पहले हम सब अपने घरों में बंद हैं, right? And there are two things. Life is uncertain anyway, and humans are geared for survival anyway. Now the
Hmm.
uncertainty is amplified and the survival instinct is amplified. And then we're isolated. ठीक है? Then
Hmm.
you go into the social realm, which is virtual, and there are all the bad things about what's happening in the world. Even if you open a news app, if I open Al Jazeera's app, theek hai, there are going to be 5 big bad headlines. Maybe there'll be one nice news in there about some person who made a kite and flew it. Like, I don't know, something random. But on social media, all of that is sifted through, and just the big and the bad, that's there. और फिर लोगों की तस्वीरें होती हैं. So
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Like, sometimes I feel like with a platform obviously comes responsibility, and you can't just be like, you can't turn a blind eye to it. But then also, when you contribute to the discourse, I feel like you have to do it responsibly. Like, for instance, if I talk about mental health, I don't want to be like, oh, theek hai, just talk about issues and then just leave the conversation. Obviously that conversation is going to make some people emotional. How will they deal with their emotions? What tools am I giving them? You can't just start a conversation and be like, peace.
Yeah.
You have to be, I don't know what you should be able to do, but I just don't know where this is going right now, because I feel like social media अभी बहुत एक negative space बनी हुई है.
I mean, I agree with you in that it's a negative space. I have like, so the 2 points. One point is that human beings find bad news more valuable. And why do they find it more valuable? Because knowing bad news could probably lead to survival more than knowing good news. Like knowing that somebody is sick or there a bomb exploded somewhere will make you avoid that place, and so you will survive. So it comes from like that sort of literally survival of the fittest sort of situation where the most privy person might actually be the most surviving person as well. So we tend to then gravitate towards the bad news, and so what tends to happen in our filtering brain, which doesn't have the capacity to absorb all the information out there, it funnels through and knows only what it focuses on, is what you end up thinking is that, oh, apocalypse is here, oh my god, the worst situation is happening. But really it's not. What's happening is that there are no more newspapers out in the world. There are more people now apart from newspapers with voices on Twitter and trends that give those voices significance within, like, like the hashtags themselves, that you end up thinking that this is what's actually going on. But what's actually going on is the human beings have progressed so much more than, like, we actually know that if this virus had taken place, let's say 100 years ago, you and I could not be having a conversation,
Yeah.
and people would actually be isolated and actually be depressed. This is just like, I mean, we're fine. I seem to be doing just fine. I just meet my wife and my khansama.
Mm.
And maybe I should speak for myself, but the second point is, this is the first point, that human beings are attracted towards bad news because it's got to do linked with their survival. But the second point is that every time I do this, and it's got to do with self-reflection and healing yourself, every time I think I'm associating a blame to someone outside of myself, I also try to put the blame on myself and see whether I'm worthy of the blame or not. You know, like and this goes as simple as, like, if you're having a fight with your wife, which if I'm having a fight with my wife, a lot of times I'll be like, yeah, maybe I did say something wrong. And that's what actually makes me a better person, makes me grow, makes me more tolerable for her, because I end up discouraging the things in me that could possibly annoy her and are possibly destructive for me as well. So looking at yourself and thinking for a second, maybe I could be wrong, is the thought that's going to take away right self-righteous indignation that people tend to just have on social media, where they don't look at themselves, don't change, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Most of the time you see that it's hypocrisy, कि वो बंदा कह रहा है ये नहीं करना चाहिए और साथ साथ खुद चोरी कर रहा है. You know, so on social media, these people just want to look away from themselves because they're so damaged and don't want to heal themselves and are escapist, so that all they're doing is blaming the other person, and that makes them not look at themselves, and looking them at themselves is a more painful
Mm.
yet more productive thing to do.
Because it's so immediate. We don't want to look at the thing that's right in front of us. And I feel like everything that is going on in the world, it's the macrocosm does, signify the microcosm, and each individual that is making up this world and has made up this world for centuries that have gone by. And I feel like I feel a lot. मैंने अभी myself, I'm like, if I edited these out, I'd be like, I feel like a lot. So I feel like if we don't look at ourselves, I mean, charity begins at home. We can't heal the world if we don't heal ourselves, like you said.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think social media justice has its pros and its cons, but Abhi, the spillover effects are probably that it's adding to an already explosive situation. But I am one of the people who does believe that the apocalypse is here. And I I feel like
It was here 100 years ago with the Spanish influenza. It comes and goes. It's like a
now it's here. It's here. The world has slowly reached a crescendo and
have you
it's gonna burst.
have you
Humanity.
seen those locust swarms that are coming as well?
Yeah, and I've seen all the memes as well. And I've watched so many conspiracy theory videos, and I just think David Icke knows where it's at. He knows what's happening.
Oh no way.
Yes,
That guy.
yes.
I checked up on that guy last
Check
about 10 years ago, and he was talking about how we came from reptilian ancestors, and it just seemed so like far flung and so far removed from any evidence that science would present, that I was like, yaar, koi paleontologist aake isko kahe ke bhai, please, we did not come from these lizard looking creatures. That's the last maybe he's talking sense now. People change.
He is talking some. I mean, at least what he says about mainstream media and even how all of these figures are compiled, like corona cases mein jo deaths hui hain. He's like a lot of the numbers are not accurate because some people die of other ailments, but they just say, oh, it's a corona death. Little things like that. And I mean, most people don't even realize how the media says what it says. Like we just take it without a grain of salt. So just
Yeah.
I think a little bit of every perspective helps you get closer to the truth, I guess.
Yeah, agreed. Well put.
So I have another question which you'll have to answer.
Acha, oh, gun to my head.
Yes.
Sure, I mean,
What is the meaning of life?
I, I, it's one of those like it gives you pause. I mean, I made a 6-minute video and I did not give any answers about who am I, which is pretty much like what's the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? I mean, ultimately, by the end of it, meaning of life is to, I used to find meaning in the pleasure that you receive out of life. So this is back when I was in O levels, and my father was like, you have to repeat your O levels, and I so didn't want to repeat O levels, but he made me, and so I wanted to get out of HSN and go to Lacasse where there were some girls and stuff. Like it's like 12 years of an all boys school. I didn't even know how to talk to women, and I was like, I need to get over this problem, before I get over my academic issues. That is secondary, you know because otherwise I will not find a life partner. I think this is primary now. So but my when I had to repeat O levels, it meant that delay one more year of meeting girls in life. So I was suicidal at that point in time, and feel free to cut this out of the video because it'll get demonetized if you talk about suicide.
Really?
So yeah, if you talk about suicide, they demonetize your video.
I'm very sorry.
Especially if you put it in the title.
Oh my God.
They demonetize it. It's not a big deal.
That's not,
It's just like,
it's discrimination. I mean, not saying okay, we have to, get the best out of it, that they shouldn't do that. That's like,
because they can't tell and they can't go through every video that says suicide on it and check whether it's positive or negative. So they just by default
okay.
demonetized it. And then you can request for a monetization thing on it. But khair, I will tell my suicide story. Up to you now that you have the information.
Okay.
So I was suicidal. I was like, if this is going to continue for the rest of my life is not going to be in my control. Then the only way I can take control of my life is to finish it. So finish him. So I was in the finish him mode, fatality. So, thinking of creative ideas of how to do it. And, I had guns in the house. I was like, that's a good way to go. Because my dad's a hunter. He's a shikari. So I was like, okay, that's a good way to go. And, like it was pretty close to actually doing the task till a new game came out and it was Half-Life 2. And I was playing Half-Life 2 and I was like, these video games are great. I think I'll stick around for the next part of this Half-Life. Maybe Half-Life 3 will come out. And Half-Life 3 just came out after 20 years, a month ago. And I've just gotten to play it. But Half-Life 2 actually saved me from finishing myself. So the meaning of life at that point was the pleasure that video games gave me. And I'm sure if it was just a phone call from a girl, it would still be the pleasure of listening to someone else's voice, pleasure basically. So but later on, as pleasure became common in life, I could play any video game I wanted. I was dating girls, they were in my life. Now I'm married, so there's anytime I want pleasure in life. So then it became like, okay, now this seems to be like a really meaningless way of existing. So then it became responsibility. It became like life is about acquiring more and more responsibility in life. So whether that's financial responsibility, so I'm taking care of, not that my house needs taking care of. My wife makes enough money to take care of the house as well, but I'm taking care of my house. I'm taking care of these 3 guys that I employ. I generate the revenue for them. That gives me meaning. If I had kids, providing them would give me meaning. I can imagine that now. My father used to say it, and I'll be like, what the hell is he talking about? Life is all about pleasure. But now I get it. So maybe like as you grow older, your chemical makeup changes, your hormones change, and you start thinking differently. And that's what kind of has happened. I find meaning in acquiring more and more responsibility.
That's a beautiful way to look at it, and how you transition the whole thing, like how the meaning changed. And thank you so much for sharing that. It was very like heart-wrenching, but I'm glad that you were able to, find something to make it through the darkness. But so through all of that, I feel like pleasure is a very immediate thing, and responsibility can be a little removed from you, like someone else is involved. So do you ever feel burnt out? Like, do you ever feel like you yourself, or your connection with yourself, is kind of being neglected because you're constantly, trying to provide, or constantly thinking about responsibilities? How do you keep that spark in yourself alive?
I mean, luckily, the pleasure that I've found in like playing music, playing the guitar, singing, being creative, is something that I've been able to monetize. So it ties into the responsibility. The like playing music or making the vlogs and stuff that I would find pleasurable will lead to the money that gives me the responsibility, and then distributing it in the right way is the responsibility. So like there's a harmony now. So there's no remove. It's all intertwined, and it kind of supports each other. They support each other.
An ecosystem. That's really good.
Yeah.
So now that we've had this lovely conversation, we're gonna move.
We're going to switch into characters.
Yes.
Okay, great. I need to change.
Okay.
Should we restart this, or should I just?
We can restart it. Okay,
Okay, let's restart it.
okay.
हाँ ठीक है, done. So I'll change and 5 minutes.
Peace.
Peace. Bye.